Hi guys, and welcome to another video of the Gertzwalds. I am so excited for this week. I'm starting to feel better. It's so exciting. I have been like this for 2 weeks and it's exhausting. But anyways, in today's video, we're going to tell you all of the symptoms that we have. So, you know what? It's nice outside. So let's go outside. So if you guys didn't see my video from last week, you would have seen that we got COVID. We tried so hard and we were trying to be so careful, but somehow we still did get COVID. So here today, I am going to share with you guys all of the crazy symptoms that we had and the symptoms between me and my husband. A lot of people before we got COVID told us that symptoms are different for everybody, and I kind of didn't really believe that, but it is true. So keep watching so you can see the symptoms that we had and I can share them with you. So just random side note, I live in South Dakota and we're in January and I'm sitting outside. It is beautiful. So crazy. Normally doesn't happen this time of year, but I have my handy dandy list. The whole time we are kind of monitoring our symptoms. Please make sure that if you get COVID and you have any big health concerns, that you seek a healthcare professional. I am not a professional by all means. I am just sharing with you guys some of the symptoms that we had, just so you can kind of get an inside scoop of what we had and what kind of worked and what didn't work. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. So I'm going to go ahead and start with day one and kind of the first things that we started to notice. So keep in mind, my husband and I did not get symptoms on the same day, but I just kind of wrote down day-to-day symptoms and I'll go back and forth between my husband's and mine. So my husband was the first one to recognize his symptoms, and the first symptom that he recognized was loss of taste. So we were sitting around the dinner table and my husband was asking if the food was bland, and I was like, one, that's rude. But that was the first thing that he said, was loss of taste was his first symptom. My first symptom was definitely body aches. So the first day that I had it, it was body aches, and then I started to lose my taste. If you saw in my last week's video, we actually kind of took a deep dive into whether it's taste or smell or whatever. So apparently we could still taste the whole time, but we could not smell. So smell is like 80% of your flavor. The heater is going crazy. Anyways, so we lost our taste is what I'll call it, but some people will tell you that it's smell, because we could definitely still tell if things were salty. We could still tell if things were savory or if things were sweet. We could still have that taste, but we couldn't tell you what the difference was between them all. So I would say liquids were by far the hardest thing to distinguish the things between. You could definitely tell if something is sweet, but I mean, like sauces and things like that. My husband thought ranch was ketchup, and it just was really hard to tell. So husband's first symptom was loss of taste or smell, and my first symptom was definitely body aches, and kind of slowly throughout that day I started to lose my taste / smell. So day two for my husband, his first symptom, or day two, that symptom was a mild headache. So he was able to treat that with just his regular over-the-counter Tylenol, nothing too crazy for that. My second day, I did have no taste. It got a lot worse. My body aches got a lot worse. My headache was just crazy. All right, so then we'll go ahead and move on to day four, because this is where it started to get a little bit interesting. So for my husband, day four, he got a really bad headache and started to be extremely tired. So he was exhausted, tired. For me, day four, I still had a headache and my shortness of breath started on day four. So I do have really, really bad asthma. And I was actually having to take my inhaler for my shortness of breath. That started to really happen around that day four. Then I started to get a little bit congested. I'm still a little bit congested, but it is definitely going away. But I just had like minor congestion, shortness of breath, and my body ache kind of slowly started to go away at this point. I didn't really have any severe body aches or anything like that. I will say I put a note on here that says headache was so bad, would not give up, took Tylenol every 4 hours on the dot. So I remember this day. This was definitely one of the worst days for me, was day four. I was tired. I just had shortness of breath. I had a headache that just would not go away. So it was like every 4 hours on the dot. I was counting down the minutes of when I could take that Tylenol. And every Tylenol is different. It just depends on what you take. Read the instructions and see when you can take them. But for me, mine was 4 hours and I was taking them on the dot. So move on to day 5. Day 5, we had body aches, dry cough, and Adam was extremely tired, which is my husband. So he started to have more body aches, and then he started to get a dry cough, which I actually never ended up getting, which I'm kind of glad I didn't, but it was just a very dry cough, and then he was still just really tired. For me, day 5, I was exhausted. I had some severe fatigue and just very, very tired and exhausted and shortness of breath. That was day 5. Day 6, let's move on to day 6. Day 6 for my husband was body ache and headache again. He had just kind of a small headache this day, wasn't as bad as the day before, and then body aches as well. So he was constantly had the back massager on. Day 6 for me, I have on here that I was exhausted, had a headache, fatigue, and shortness of breath. My headache was starting to come back pretty severe, but so this day I have in here, I was extremely tired and did not really want to get out of bed, so much so that we watched The Grinch 4 times with my daughter. So we have a 3-year-old, her name is Emerson, and she did not mind watching The Grinch so many times in one day. So anywho, that was day 6. Day 7, my husband started to feel a lot better. So day 7, he was feeling better. He had a mild headache and mild body aches, but really all in all, he was getting better. His dry cough was gone and he was just starting to feel better. So for me, day 7, I was still extremely exhausted, and I still had shortness of breath, but my headache did finally go away. So I was pretty excited about that. I was up and moving around that day. What I wanted to mention here is my body aches is very interesting. When people say that you get body aches, I was kind of a little bit confused by that on just like, what does that mean? Like, I understand that your body aches, but like, what does it feel like? So for me, it felt like I had just been in a car accident. It felt, my whole spine, the back of my spine on either side just felt horrible. It was aching pain for me. And I have no previous back injuries. I don't have any serious health concerns with my back or anything like that. It just started to hurt, and it felt like I had been in a car accident and my body had maybe just jolted. It was very tense and very stiff. So that was my symptom. That was day 2. So day 3 for my husband was still just a mild headache. He didn't really get anything else after that, just straightforward mild headache. And then for my day 3, mine was the same as day 2. I had a pounding headache that I could just not get rid of with Tylenol. I had no taste still. We honestly, for both of us, I'll stop even mentioning that because we didn't have taste. We just started to get our taste back. Spoiler alert, got my taste back on day 14. But yeah, so no taste, pounding headache, body aches. Again, my body aches were a little bit better that next day. So, day 8 was the day that I went to the hospital. I will tell you that that was one of the worst nights that I've had. I didn't get any sleep at all. It was hard for me to breathe. I was using my inhaler. I was not happy. So I woke up that morning and I was kind of debating on going. Should you not go? Should you go? It's a tough one. And I mean, I'm sure a lot of you out there can relate. Health care bills are expensive, so it's scary when you decide to go to the hospital. You just don't know what it's going to cost. You don't know how long you're going to be there. There's just a lot to consider. But all in all, your health is most important, and you can't take care of others if you're not healthy. So I made the decision to go to the hospital and just get everything checked out. I wasn't feeling like I could breathe, and that was scary for me. So I ended up going to the hospital. They checked all of my vitals. They checked everything pretty much, and they said everything seemed to be good. They ended up doing x-rays and looking at my lungs, and everything there looked good. So there was a little bit of they could see my lungs were working, and they were working hard. So they just told me to keep taking my inhaler, and with asthma, it just is a little bit harder for me. So anyways, they did say that if I wanted to, they could give me an IV of fluids, but they did check my urine, and I was super hydrated, so they did not seem to be too concerned with that. So they sent me home and told me that we just got to get through this, and they told me that I can get through it. So getting all of my vitals and everything did make me feel a little bit better, but on that day I still was just having shortness of breath, body aches. I was exhausted, and I was just so exhausted. Anyways, we watched The Grinch again that day. A lot. So day 8 for my husband, he was actually feeling a lot better, and he kind of just felt like he was getting over it, and he was really happy about that. So that was good. Day 9. So day 9 for my husband actually got a little bit worse. He started to get what he called heart flutters. So he felt like his heart was just pounding a little bit more than normal, and then he started to experience shortness of breath, and then he had a tight chest and a headache. I will say one of the comments that he kept saying on this day was that he felt like someone was just sitting on his chest. And so I never really had the tightness of chest. I did have the shortness of breath, and my shortness of breath is very hard to explain, but the best way that I could describe it, and how I described it to the doctors, is I felt like I ran up a flight of stairs, and then ran down and ran back up the stairs, and now they're just asking me to breathe like normal. And that's how it felt. Anyways, we'll move on to day 10. So day 10 was the same for me. It was just exhaustion, shortness of breath, blah, blah, blah. Day 10 for my husband was the same thing: tight chest, shortness of breath, headache. Day 11, my husband still had heart flutters and tightness of chest. Day 11 for me, I actually started to get a little bit of a dry cough. I don't even know if I'd call it a dry cough. I coughed like twice. And I put on there that I coughed twice. So I coughed twice, and I think that was it. But anyways, I really started to feel better on this day. My shortness of breath started to go away. I didn't have any headaches. My lingering symptoms were still couldn't taste or smell, however you want to word that. And I was just exhausted. I felt so tired all the time. So that was my symptoms. And then for my husband, he actually started to feel better on that same day as well. So we are now on day 14. And I will say day 14 for my husband, not for me, it's day 13 for me. But taste is starting to come back. We're starting to feel better. I definitely don't have 100% of my taste, but I am so close. So very close. And I must say, for whoever out there that gets colds or sinus infections or things like that and experience this every year, I feel so bad for you. I've never had that. I've never had that with a cold or anything. I've never experienced the not being able to taste, and it is so frustrating. I mean, you just want to taste things. You want, and I will say, there were some days where I'm like, I'm just not gonna eat because I can't taste anything. What's the enjoyment of eating? But you still have to eat. Your body still needs food. So, that's what I was thinking, and I just wanted to scream. And we had a 3-year-old daughter, and this whole time, we still had to take care of our 3-year-old daughter, and she needs food, and she needs, energy, and she still felt 100% the whole time. So it was exhausting, and I will say, again, these are just our symptoms. These are how we were at. I will say that I don't think either of us are 100% there, but we are definitely close. I would say we're 90% there on getting better. We got lots of sleep throughout all of this. So that was really good. We were very fortunate with both of our jobs that we actually already had time off for Christmas and New Year's. I ended up taking a couple extra days, but all in all, we are healthy, we are better, and I am so excited that we are over this. So please, if you guys have any comments or questions, please leave them below. I know this was kind of random, just kind of like a vlog, a life story, but I want to just make sure that I did not think that everybody's symptoms would be completely different, and I didn't think that it was going to be like this, but it very much is. And I feel like both my husband and I's symptoms were completely different. And even if I go and talk to my in-laws that had it, their symptoms were completely different as well. So everybody is different. If you do have any crazy symptoms or anything, please leave me down a comment down below. I'd love to hear your experience through COVID. I will say I don't wish this upon anybody, and I just feel for people that are out there that have this. It's a hard time. It's exhausting, but you can get through it. Alright, thanks guys for watching this week's video. I am so glad. I am feeling better. I am so happy. I can't believe it. But anyways, I will see you guys next week. Bye!